Hello! This time we are travelling west to the city of Canterbury in England, where every street has a story to tell, and we start at the bus station. There has been a large cattle market here since the 1500s. The market was enlarged and developed a number of times, and by the early 1800s had all the modcons of the era: spectators' areas, stalls, pens, auctioning facilities, etc. The cattle market attracted buyers and sellers from the region. It was very popular, and they were mostly serious businessmen, and at least one man with a big grudge. As the story goes, Mr. Bronket took his wife to the cattle market to sell her. The man would not relent even after many of the other sellers told him off. So there he stood, his wife on a tether, until Mr. Fuller, in the employ of Mr. Berry of Bolton Hill, purchased the poor woman for 5 shillings, thus freeing her. The story is unfortunately silent on what happened next. We are walking around the back of the Whitefriars shopping centre. Whitefriars is located on the site of a former monastic complex occupied by the Austin Friars, or as they were known, the White Friars, whose monastery was dissolved by Henry VIII in 1538. The White Friars arrived in Canterbury in the early 1320s, and they were not welcome. The Benedictines ran the Christchurch Priory and didn't like competition for the good wishes and the good coins of the faithfuls. Eventually, the two orders reached a compromise. The White Friars would pay an annual amount plus a cut of their takings to the priory. This was not unusual. It was common for money and other gifts to be used to smooth out disputes and facilitate peace among religious orders, as well as to gain influence over civil authorities. By law, the White Friars had to close their gates from sunset to sunrise, but they opened them at night to shelter a woman chased by the local authorities. And when the coroner and his men demanded the felon to be given to them, the friars chased them off with sticks and knives. However, they were not powerful enough to provide protection to another lady, who was eventually found guilty of regular nightly visits to the friary, where she provided some very much down-to-earth comforts to the friars. After the dissolution of the monastery by Henry VIII in 1538, Sir Harry Finch bought the land and turned it into gardens and orchards. In the late 19th century, a school for boys and one for girls were built here. The site was badly damaged during the Second World War. It was redeveloped between 1950s and 1970s, and in the 1990s it was redeveloped again, but this time with some care for the historic location. The result is a pleasant shopping area with plenty of coffee shops and restaurants. From Whitefriars, Rose Lane connects into the Parade Street and then the High Street. Rose is such a pleasant name for a small road, and the building now housing HSBC Bank honors it by having a frieze depicting roses. However, Rose as a name for a lane in a busy old town in England is often the result of a recent renaming of a road with a history, and this Rose Lane is no exception. Its true name was Pillory Lane and Dungeon Lane. If you're not familiar with medieval corporal punishment, a pillory was a wooden framework fixed on a post used to immobilize an offender's head and hands. The pillory would be in full view of the people using the busy road, so that anyone could mock and/or spit at the person locked up in the pillory as they walked past. should they wish to, of course. The last person to be pilloried in England was Peter James Bossey, who was convicted of wilful and corrupt perjury. In 1830, the pillory was formally abolished as a form of punishment in England and Wales in 1837. This street, depending on where you join it, it's known as the High Street, Parade Street, St. George's Street, and a few more names. It runs through from the West Gate to St. George's Tower at the opposite end of the Old Town, and to the bus station.
I'll probably ask for the passports. Have we got one of us?
Yes, I always carry them. Smith, to be honest with you.
Maybe we're walking in the wrong direction. I think we must have walked past it.
We are turning into Pillory Lane. The lane is named after Solomon Mercer, who lived here in the 12th century. And as the name suggests, Mercer was very well known for his fine cloth. From his house on the corner, he sold locally woven textiles made of wool and silk. One side of the lane is dominated by the Pret-a-Manger, but the building is a lot older than the British multinational sandwich shop chain. The Chequer of Hope used to be a large inn built in 1392 to accommodate pilgrims visiting the shrine of St. Thomas Becket. Shops occupied the ground floor, mostly selling souvenirs for the pilgrims. The most popular souvenirs were coins or medallions bearing the image of the saint and small bottles of holy water. The first floor of the inn offered lavish accommodation for the wealthy pilgrims, with views of the courtyard. For the less well-off, there was a large dormitory under the roof. The origin of the name is unsure. Some suggest it came from the game of checkers, often played at the inn. Others from checker or counting house, the office dedicated to manage the money. Others, more spiritually inclined, suggest that the name comes from the counting of the pilgrims' hopes. Two grotesques adorn one of the entrances, and an urban legend tells us that one of the grotesques is grumpy because he's still waiting for his turn, while the happy one has already been serviced. In this story, the inn was a popular brothel. Chaucer mentions the inn and hints at the less than holy shenanigans going on in the inn in the shadow of the church. And next time I will tell you of fat monks and naughty pilgrims. Yes, we are going to talk Canterbury tales as we walk back to the High Street and from there to the imposing West Gate. Hope to see you then. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, that would be wonderful. I publish videos in English on Tuesdays, Italian on Wednesdays and Bulgarian on Thursdays. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.